So I'm here in LA for E3, but just the convention. I'm not cool enough to go to any of these conferences. I'm gonna be busting out videos all week long, but I wanted to get a quick one out about the conferences, what I thought were the notable games that absolutely killed it, and the ones that just woofed it. If you're wondering why the quality is so good, that's because I have James over here, who is letting me use all of his equipment, and it's all really nice. We'll start with Microsoft. They spent the first 10 minutes talking about the Xbox One X, which is the absolute worst name for any console, beating out the original name for the Xbox One. We already knew about the specs, so that was a little boring, but then they just plowed right ahead and showed a whole hour-long block of game after game after game, and that's exactly how every conference should be. Forza Motorsport looks great, obviously, but I'm not too impressed. The real challenge with high-resolution graphics and textures is when you see people's faces on screen, not inanimate cars. Assassin's Creed Origins was pretty much what we were expecting. We got more at the Ubisoft conference, but man, it's a pretty game. The Egyptian aesthetic with the super colorful hieroglyphics on the walls looks great. The inventory screen scares me a little bit. It looks like there might be a heavy focus on RPG elements. I'm not too fond of that. It seems like a requirement for a game in 2017 to have slow motion in-air bow and arrow combat. But overall, this might get me to jump back into the Assassin's Creed franchise. I'm excited that they took a year off to work on this, and I hope to God that they spent that year working on their goddamn engine. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is coming to Xbox One with X support, if that's how we're gonna say it. This is good because this is a game that I've wanted to play, but not enough to fire up the old gaming rig. Hopefully, it will come to PS4 eventually. Oh, and hopefully this will encourage them to finish the goddamn thing. What is with these survival games and their seemingly endless betas? Just finish the game. We want a finished game. It was very nice to see Minecraft with a complete visual overhaul. Millions of people still play Minecraft, and this will only get more people to want to log back in. Plus, the most surprising of all, cross-platform play with Switch, PC, and iOS. Apparently Sony was too good to join the cause. I would kill to know the full story there from both sides. Anyway, this is a fantastic move, and even your DLC transfers between platforms. That's awesome. Dragonball Fighters Ii was a cocaine trip of a trailer, but that 3D cel-shaded aesthetic nailed the cartoon look beautifully. Last Night aesthetically looked good, but apparently people are boycotting it because of something the developer said about Gamergate in 2014. Let it go. You shouldn't really judge a work based on who created it. If you do, then you can't listen to the Beatles because John Lennon beat his wife. Anyway, Cuphead is finally coming out, although I still don't believe it will make the date. It was delayed way too much and the team working on it is way too small. But it looks good. Now, I wasn't a big fan of Shadow of Mordor. At the time, I think I was just burnt out on games with that same fighting mechanic. At the time, I had just finished Assassin's Creed and Batman. What interests me about Shadow of War are the characters. I know this is just a trailer, but so far this looks very cinematic. And of course, everybody fell in love with this orc character. And finally, there was Anthem from BioWare, previously codenamed Dylan. Also known as the reason Mass Effect Andromeda looked like shit. It seems like BioWare split their resources very unevenly. It looks insane. I'm very into that visual style. It looks like it's their version of Destiny meeting a semi-MMO shooter. I'm all about that as long as I don't quickly fall behind my friends if I don't log 100 hours a week. Overall, I was very impressed with Microsoft's showing. Oh, and the Xbox One X is going to be released at $499, which was expected from me, not expected from everybody else. People didn't take that information too well and thought that the whole conference suffered because of it. I completely disagree. The thing is, guys, you don't need to buy an Xbox One X. All of these games will work just fine on your original Xbox One, or most of them will even work on your PC. And if you don't have an Xbox One or a PC, the Xbox One S is half the price of an X. God, these names are confusing. I was a little disappointed with Sony. They started with Uncharted Lost Legacy, which just looks like more Uncharted. I still have no reason to care about Days Gone besides Barbed Wire Bear. They just need to show me how it's not just a Last of Us cash grab. Oh, also, all of the Xbox stuff and my big old stupid face is going to be in 4K. All of this other stuff is going to be upscaled from 1080 because that's the only footage that they showed at the conferences. I was, however, interested in this very modern-looking Monster Hunter game. I was surprised considering how much the Monster Hunter franchise has invested into Nintendo lately, but the modern graphical overhaul is very welcome. Hopefully, it's a big open world and the areas aren't needlessly sectioned off like the other versions of the game. I know we already kind of got a remaster of Shadow of the Colossus, but I'm excited for a remake. I've only ever watched people play through the original. I've always been interested in it because of how beautiful it looks, but the way the character moves definitely hasn't aged well. Same with Ico and The Last Guardian. Hopefully that's something that's addressed in the remake. I'll be kind of honest, I kind of tuned out during Call of Duty World War II. But I am probably going to get it because I do want regular old Call of Duty back with no more of these bullshit jetpacks and wall running and all that nonsense. I have my fingers crossed that Skyrim Vr will be a free update and not a whole new game. I do not want to have to buy the game for a third time. I don't even like Skyrim that much. Shh, don't tell Shottycast that I said that. God of War looks beautiful, of course. I like this direction compared to the almost grindhouse nonsense we saw in the previous installments. Although we saw a good amount of God of War at PSX already. I'm not sure if Detroit Become Human can achieve what it's trying to do. It looks great, I like the idea, but they're pushing real hard that you'll be able to make a lot of decisions that have a heavy impact on the narrative. That's a very hard thing to achieve, unless the game is like super short, which I'd be okay with. Spider-Man, of course, looks fantastic. I'll run up buildings all goddamn day. Hopefully it's not too heavy on QuickTime events though. No game has ever had fun QuickTime events. The most interesting part of Spider-Man was that they teased Miles Morales at the end. I wonder what role he'll be playing, or if this will be a Spider-Man story. It'd be great to get to play as him. People really wanted to see The Last of Us Part 2 or Death Stranding. I would have put money on us seeing Death Stranding, but not The Last of Us Part 2. I think it's a little too early to see anything about that. The only reason I thought we'd see Death Stranding is because they've shown us so many little snippets at every little conference that they could lately. I think that the absence of these two upset a lot of people. It made for a lot of disappointments. Also, we didn't get anything about Final Fantasy VII or Shenmue. What's up with that? Where the hell are those games? One of the best games that I saw wasn't even shown at the conference. The team behind Resogun is making a Contra-esque style shooter called Matterfall. It basically looks like Resogun, but instead of a spaceship, you're a dude with a laser gun. I'm fine with that. Would be better on the Switch though, but... Speaking of the Switch, I literally just watched the Nintendo Spotlight this morning, and can we take a second to talk about how much I don't want to play Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle? They had me with the art style until the combat. Definitely not about that XCOM style for a freaking Mario game. What the hell, Ubisoft? This is what you do with the most precious license? Anyway, I'm all for Rocket League on Switch, especially because you can play cross-platform. I'll be buying this for a second time. Nintendo announced that Game Freak is working on a mainline Pokemon title for the Switch to address previous concerns, and all you f***ing idiots who thought that they would only be working on mainline Pokemon games for handheld consoles for some dumb reason, you big stupid idiots. Co-op Kirby looks good. So does Paper Yoshi. That art style looks sick. They showed nothing of Metroid Prime 4 aside from a logo, but that was enough to set Twitter on fire. I think people are happy enough with that. They could have just as easily shown nothing at all. Lastly, Super Mario Odyssey. This trailer was much better looking than the first one we got earlier in the year. I'm getting some Super Mario 64 vibes, which is good, but you can collect multiple stars or moons in one go. I think for me, this is a perfect contender for Zelda for Game of the Year. I'll have more thoughts on this later for sure. And it'll be on the show floor, so I'm trying to make sure that is one of the first things that I get my hands on and pump out a video just about Odyssey. What Metroid game is that?
It's been on for a while.
That's not, oh, there's gonna be so much more. There's gonna be so much more to talk about. If there's anything here that you wish that I covered that I didn't cover, me and Will be going through the full list of everything that was announced at every conference over on Wednesday on Wolf Den Live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, I'll be uploading videos from the show floor of my thoughts on all of the games that I get my hands on, or most of them. The ones that I think are really cool, or the ones that I think are like obnoxiously bad. Stay tuned for that. I have to quick edit this video so that I can run to the show floor. I have about an hour and a half. So what did you think about the conferences? Leave in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, all this other social media garbage. Tell me what you want to see, and I'll try to tell you about it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have yourselves a good week.